Hi everybody, I said that I was going to do a pork roast with sauerkraut and kielbasa, and I'm doing it. Hey John. I'm exhausted. I don't know if you were following me earlier today, but I went to Oakland. I've been up there all day picking well, I didn't pick any apples. Let's not lie. I had other people pick apples and pumpkins for me. If you can see in the background, you can see these ginormous, gorgeous pumpkins. I brought these home. I'm going to be doing some recipes another day with those. And these gorgeous apples that are so sweet. They're going to be in this recipe. And then tomorrow I'll probably do the sausage, potato, apple bake that I was talking to you guys about because I'm so tired. I just want to get this in the oven. So this is a really simple recipe. I grew up in Pennsylvania, in Pittsburgh to be exact, and this is like a Pennsylvania Dutch Pittsburgh thing. Yes, I was in Oakland today at Riley's farm. So they had me in period clothes, like historical period clothes. I had to wear a corset and had my hair up. Go back and look if you haven't seen the video. It's quite hilarious. You know, I'm just off the cuff. I don't record. I don't like plan anything. I just do it organically as it comes across. Whatever I'm doing, I just share it. No filters, just me, okay? So this recipe I've been making for years. It's a super easy pork and sauerkraut. It's a pork roast. And somebody had earlier said they didn't think pork roast and sauerkraut and kielbasa go together. Hello, it's like peas and carrots. It's amazing. So I do not make my own sauerkraut. Why? Because why would I? I can get it, German style sauerkraut. I got this one at Aldi's. It's a German brand. Deutschland, whatever the name is. I usually get it at a specialty market, just a really good quality. You could probably use like just grocery store stuff too, but it's just cabbage. It's not brain surgery. But anyway, if you want to make your own sauerkraut, more power to you. Go for it. I'm using this kielbasa. This is a brand I love. I know my meat guy, John Fueling, is going to be on next week with Corner Butcher Shop, and he was giving me a hard time about what kielbasa I'm using, and maybe he's going to bring me some to try. I don't know. But this brand, I love this brand. It's called Keilbasa Smoked Meats. It's they're from San Antonio, Texas. I know my things backwards. I can put the link in it. I usually get it at Sam's Club or Costco. They're just really good quality smoked meats. They're a natural casing. I love the flavor. I think it's really good. But you could use, I don't know, whatever the grocery store brand, if that's what you want to use. It really doesn't matter. Hey, Scott. Hey, Lisa. You should have gone with me today. We have to go back. The food was so good. Again, if you're just tuning in, I spent the day at Oak Glen up at Riley's farm, and what a place. The food's phenomenal. There's so much going on. So if you missed it, go back. It'll be on my YouTube channel, just because it's going to be hard to find. Just go to my YouTube channel, Foodie Princess, and you can find it. But this is just a really simple recipe. You can do it in a crock pot if you just want to do it. It just takes too much time. Hey, Wayne. And I got home late, and I'm tired, and I'm already pushing it as it is. So I want to do this really quick, and you can get fancy, and you can switch this around if you want to, but this is how I make it. So if you're not going to do a crock pot, I'm going to do it in a Dutch oven, a cast iron enameled Dutch oven. I have a pork shoulder or a pork butt, whichever piece you want to have. You can do a loin if you want to. I like to make sure the fat is trimmed off, that you don't want too much fat. And the meat is just going to sort of braise and cook after we brown it. I'm going to turn my heat down here. I've got some butter in here. I'm going to add some olive oil, and we're just going to season it. Did you see my colonial outfit today? Oh my gosh. When they said they were going to put me in a period costume, I was like, oh my gosh. And then like, you literally wear like their stuff. Like you have to take off your stuff and you got to put on their stuff. Anyway, that's a whole other story. So what I like to do to the pork loin, and I can't find, oh, here it is. I take a little bit of mustard. And if you've watched any of my videos before with smoking or barbecue, I usually use a mustard base. I think it's it's acidic enough, there's enough vinegar in mustard that it does tenderize the meat somehow, but it also gives the dry rub something to adhere to. So when you're trying to brown it and you want to get a little bit of a crust, the Maillard effect to the meat, browning it, making it caramelized, this kind of helps. So I'm just going to take some Grey Poupon, pardon me. Another one that I like this German honey mustard, Ingelhofer. It's a sweet honey mustard, and maybe I'll mix likes them. You know, why not? It's whatever you have on hand. You could probably use yellow mustard if you wanted to. It's not a big deal. You're not going to really taste it. I'm just going to put a light coat on this pork shoulder, okay? I'm just going to smear it on. You can just use your hands. You know, we're playing with meat today. Who doesn't like to play with meat? Important that your meat is room temp. Like take it out, not room temp, but like 20 to 30 minutes beforehand you want to take it out because you're trying to get a nice crust on this because we're going to brown it first and then we're going to go ahead and get it browned up and then we're going to put in the oven, okay? All right, I got to wash my hands. They're all gooed up. Stay tuned. Okay. So we've got a mustard coating on there, and again, I used Grey Poupon, whatever you have on hand, or I love this German honey mustard. So, so good. Hey, Shane. Hey, John. Wayne. Yes, Wayne's going to be cooking with me, and tell me again what we're cooking, Wayne. We're doing a soup, right? I can't remember now. I've got all these people booked out, and I can't remember what they're doing. Okay, now I'm going to season this. I'm going to use, I like rubbed sage. I've got to turn this down. Few squirts of olive oil. So I'm going to use a little rub sage on this roast, and I'm going to do a little French thyme. Okay, and then just whatever seasoning, like salt and pepper, or if you like lemon pepper, or if you like whatever your favorite seasoning mix with salt and pepper is what you want to use. I never use the same thing twice, but basically you want to season it with some salt and pepper. Okay, and whatever that means to you, you do it. All right. We're just trying to get some flavors in here. We got the mustard as the base. I want to put more of the dried rubbed sage on it. And sage just gives it, sage just to me is fall. I love the flavors of sage. I just think it's a really nice flavor. Let's see, what else I need to put? Oh, more of the thyme. Okay, so we've got this really nicely rubbed. I'm going to add just a little bit more pink Himalayan salt on top because I want to make sure that we got enough salt on here. Okay, so I've got it seasoned. I'm going to put it into my hot pan, and I'm looking to get a nice sear on that pork shoulder, okay? I'm gonna get rid of all this stuff. Get a platter, take it out on. So yeah, I could use a nap. And to make matters worse, last night I slept like literally 4 hours, so I just feel like Dawn of the Dead. And then the fact that I was like on the go in the apple orchards with the pumpkins, you know, I'm exhausted. I'm like ready for bed. So I just wanted to get this done and get it going. Once this browns and we get a nice coating on it, I'm going to remove it and then I'm going to prepare the pan with the sauerkraut. Now in the sauerkraut, oh, I forgot my potato. Let's see. I need to get it. It's in the pantry. I'll be right back. Alright, you can tell I'm tired, I'm not completely planned. In my sauerkraut, I put a little brown sugar, and if you're doing keto, you do not need to add the brown sugar. It's just as good without it, but I traditionally have done brown sugar. About 1/4 of a cup of firmly packed brown sugar. A little caraway seed. Again, if you don't like caraway seeds, don't put them in. It's not a big deal. You know, it's totally to taste. I like them. I think it kind of makes the flavors pop. I'm going to shred an onion and a potato and a full-size apple in the sauerkraut. So again, it's a potato, an onion, and an apple. Now the apples that I got today at Riley's Farm, they're a smaller variety, so I'll probably do 2 apples, and they're very sweet. Like a Gala or a Fuji, something sweet, okay? And again, this is apples, you know, pork chop, pork, apples, crowding, all like goes together. It's so nice together. All right, let me see how this is doing. I'm looking for, yeah, look at the color. Can you see it? It's getting a nice color on there. And I want all the sides to get really nice and brown. Once that's done, I'm going to pull it out. I'm going to put the sauerkraut in there. Again, I'm just using a jarred German brand, whatever, you know, nothing fancy. I'm going to slice kielbasa in there. The kielbasa is sort of in the background. You know, smoked meats have such a beautiful flavor, and of course they release some of their fat when they're cooking. So you've got the leaner pork roast in there that's already been caramelized and flavored. You've got your sauerkraut that has apple, onion and potato in it, and then caraway seeds. I'm gonna put some fresh herbs in there. I like rosemary and thyme. Don't need to add that. If I had sage, I would definitely put fresh sage in it, but I don't have any growing right now, so I'm sad. The flavors just all blend together, and it's such a harmonious dish. You've got salty, you've got acid, you've got tang. I mean, you've got it all going on. And it's one of those dishes that people that say they don't like sauerkraut, if they just give it a try, taste it, and are like, wow, this is really good. Apples from Oakland are so delicious. Yes, they are amazing. I don't even like apples, and I'm telling you, first of all, look how beautiful they are. They're this blushy pink tone, and I didn't even have time to like try all the varieties this time, but sweet, crisp, juicy. So they're gonna add a really nice level of flavor to what I'm doing here. Okay, I wanna keep watching my pork roast, and I'm gonna turn it on the side because I wanna get that sear. Okay? And you're gonna leave the fat in there. Now you can deglaze the pan if you want, if you like a little saucier. You can definitely add some German beer to this if you like to. I've done that before. I'm not doing that today because I don't have any. So, you know, German beer would be delicious in there. You could even add some Chardonnay. Wine would be nice. Totally up to you. That's the thing, you know, when you're doing these recipes, I don't like to be so accurate because not everybody has these things on hand. I've made this sauerkraut without the pork roast, with just the sauerkraut and the smoked sausage, you know? Hey, Padilla. So don't feel like you have to do it all. If you don't like sauerkraut, you know, then don't do it. Don't do the sauerkraut. Make the pork roast and add apples in there and maybe some sliced onion. You know, you don't have to do every part of the recipe. But this, I grew up on this, and this is like, this is fall. To me, this recipe is fall. All right, we're almost good here with the pork roast. And I'm going to slow cook this in my oven at 350. So my oven is preheated at 350. You want to use, just for safety, you want to use a meat thermometer. I hate telling people it's going to take 2 hours or it's going to take 3 hours or whatever. I want to tell you it needs to be about 160, or it should be shredding easily with your fork. Pork is very easy to tell. Pork shreds simply by taking 2 forks and it just will start falling apart. That's when it's done. If it's resistant, it needs more time. I mean, that's just the best way to tell you. In the crock pot, when I do this in the crock pot, I make sure to drain this very, very well. Hey, Camelin. Put it in a strainer in the sink, and I actually wring it out because I don't want the moisture. When you're using a crock pot, the moisture just sort of builds in there, and so I don't want to add any extra moisture to it. There's already enough moisture coming out of the sauerkraut, if that makes sense. So I'm using the same recipe in the crock pot. You'll still brown your meat. You'll need to use 2 pots. You'll have to brown it and then transfer it to your crock pot. While you're browning, just put in your crock pot the sauerkraut and all the recipe that I'm giving you here. Just put it in the crock pot, put this on top, cover it. Takes about 8 hours, 8 to 9 hours on high in the crock pot. So it's something you can do in the morning very quickly. This takes 15 minutes to put together. It's very quick, okay? So you choose how you want to do it. I love the crock pot method. Being that I was gone all day playing, I don't have time for it. So I keep promising I'm going to make this, and I want to do it for you because it's such a phenomenal recipe. Again, if you think you don't like sauerkraut, you will like it. That looks like the sauerkraut I bought. Yes, this is from Aldi. That's exactly what I got. And I haven't tried this brand before. I always buy a German brand that I get at the commissary. You know, we shop at the commissary. But it's the same one that you can get at like World Market. I've seen it at George's. If you live out in the Inland Empire, there's a German market that you can buy it at. I just get it cheaper, you know, at the base. So that's why I buy it. But you could probably use something from the grocery store, honestly. I mean, it's just fermented cabbage. It's not that big of a deal. People make such a big deal about doing everything from scratch. And again, if you want to make your own, great. I don't have the time. And why would I? Like, I could be doing something else, and this is just as good. So, very easy to do. All right, this looks really brown, really nice. So, I'm going to remove this, put it on a platter, and let it rest for a minute while I add everything else in this. Now, this is really hot, and this has moisture, so you want to be careful. when you're putting this to the hot mixture, actually I'm going to do the onion first because I don't want this to splatter. I grate the onion. It's very good, not so overpowering. Okay, I mean, again, you guys decide what you want to do. I grate the onion into the sauerkraut. And again, I do that because I have kids and I don't want them to see big pieces of onion in it. So you could slice this really thin and saute it really quickly. It would be delicious, but I'm going to grate it. And it takes a little bit of time and it's kind of messy, but stay with me here. See, it's going to splatter just a little bit because that oil's hot. But there's beef fat or pork fat in here and seasonings and herbs, so I don't want to get rid of it. You know, all those beautiful flavors are in here. So yeah, it splatters. But you just want to grate it on a box grater. I mean, you can put it in your food processor if you want to. I find when I grate onion, if you have picky eaters or even adults that don't like texture, onion is one of those flavors that people say they don't like onion. It's another thing. Onion is in everything. It's in your hot sauce. It's in your ketchup. It's in everything. So what people typically don't like about onion is the texture of it. So if you grate the onion, there's no texture and they just get the flavor. So that's just my trick. You know, I'm a mom. We have 6 kids between us. I have 4. He has 2. So you just kind of learn these tricks as a mom to kind of hide ingredients that you know are essential in cooking. Okay, I'm down to that piece. Let me just get the other one. Sorry, I should have pre-grated this, but I'm lucky that I'm even getting this done. And I can probably I'll do this after so that we don't have to watch. Whole onion, okay? Then the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do an apple. I leave the peel on. If you don't like peel, you can take it off. These are washed, freshly picked 2 hours ago, okay? So these are gonna be phenomenal. I also grate these. You could slice them if you like a chunkier texture, but you know, for me, I just like to grate them. So I'm gonna grate this apple in here, and I'm probably gonna do 2 because they're smaller. But if you're using a regular size apple, 1 is plenty. This is gonna add a really nice tart flavor. It's a sweet apple. This is a Gala apple from, or did he say Fuji? It's a Fuji, I think. Oh gosh, I can't remember now. Where is Mr. Riley when you need him? I'll have to ask him to remind me which one it was. But it's very sweet and very crisp, but not sickeningly sweet, okay? So you want a sweeter apple is what I'm trying to say. And I'll do the second apple when I'm off camera. That way you guys don't have to watch me do it. But I've got an apple, I've got an onion in there, and now I'm gonna do potato. And again, whatever you have on hand. So I have these little white Yukon potatoes. You could use whatever you want. Now, I don't peel these either, but if you were gonna do like a russet potato, I would peel it because the peel is kind of mealy on a russet, but on a white potato, it's really not. So I'm just gonna grate 1 potato. And the potato, it's the starch that you're looking for. If you're doing keto or low carb, I made this all the time on keto and I did not add the potato and you don't miss it. So if you're doing low carb or keto, totally omit the potato. It's not a big deal. Again, the potato is just adding starch and it kind of helps it to set up a little bit. If you want to be really decadent, you make mashed potatoes to serve this with, which I will not be making because I'm trying to eat as low carb as possible. And after today's meal, I don't know if you guys saw all the food that we got to taste at the Hawkshead Public House, the tavern up in Oak Glen. But the food's phenomenal. They have recipes from like, you know, the late 18th century, and they're just, they're neat. Like the food, you just can't get that anywhere. Okay, so that's good enough. So I've got my potato, an apple, and an onion. All right. What, Wayne? A nice German Riesling. Ooh, that would be nice. Okay, so now I'm ready for my sauerkraut. I use 2 jars, but I overcook. I make bigger portions than I probably should. So this will definitely give you leftovers. You could do 1, that's fine. Whatever you want to do. So there's 1 jar. Here's my second. My family, most of my kids really like sauerkraut because they grew up on it, but I have 2 that won't eat it. So, you know, and my husband loves it, thankfully. My first husband hated it. So it's pretty cool to be married to somebody that actually likes it. Okay, so you're gonna mix that together. I've got my apple, my onion, and my potato, all right? And it's in all those yummy juices and that little bit of butter that's in there, okay? I'll let you see it in just a sec. Next, I'm gonna add 1/4 a cup of brown sugar. You could also omit this. When I did keto, I did not add this. If you felt like it needed some sweetener, you could add some Swerve, but it doesn't need it. The apple alone is sweet enough, but tradition, I'm gonna add, it's just 1/4 cup in the entire recipe. Firmly packed. All right, so we got that in there. Oh my gosh, it smells so good. All right, next I'm gonna add caraway seeds. Now, if you don't like caraway seeds, totally take them out. You don't have to add them. I like the flavor that they add. I think they add just like a little something extra. And I'm just gonna do it to where I think it looks good. Maybe, I would say 1/2 teaspoon when it's all said and done, okay? That looks really good. Okay, the next thing I'm gonna add is I'm gonna add some of this smoked sausage. Now again, I'm not, the main course, the star of this is the pork roast. This is just an accent to add like a smoky flavor. So I'm not gonna use this whole pack. Tomorrow I'm gonna make another recipe. What I'm gonna do, the smoked sausage with apples, potatoes, and whatever else I decide to put in there. So I'm gonna save half this pack for tomorrow, but I'm gonna take some of these sausages out, probably for this 1, 2, 3, 4, I'll do 6. I'll do 6. And these are in a natural casing. And the way my husband likes these, and I kind of agree with him, I grew up with bite-sized, like cut it in half maybe. He likes little discs. And you know what? Whatever my husband likes, I make it for him. He does so much for me. If he wants the sausages cut in discs, that's what he's gonna get. So you just wanna go ahead and take your knife, don't cut your fingers off. You just wanna make little discs of the sausage, and that way everybody gets a couple, in each bite. And just add them in here. And they're gonna add just a really nice smoky flavor to your sauerkraut. The flavors are just, they're just gonna go together so nicely. And it's such a fall dish. It's amazing. Okay, I got some things in here coming through. Okay, so again, I'm gonna keep cutting these. I'm gonna get about 6 in. You could do less, you could do more. If you're vegetarian and you just wanna do the sauerkraut, you could do that as well. You could do apples, onions, and the kraut and omit the meat completely if you want to. You could use a vegetarian or vegan style sausage in here as well if you want to do that. It's the smoke flavor that you're looking for. So, with vegetarian and vegan type dishes, it's kind of one of those things where you have to learn how to get that smoky flavor and the texture. So I would recommend smoking some of your vegetables that you're gonna put in there. If you have a smoker, I'm gonna be building a new deck, and I'm having some new stuff built in, smokers and stuff that I'll be doing some of my cooking videos out there. I've got another restaurateur out here in Oak Glen, Tony Hicks. He works, he owns Angus McGurdy's, and he's going to be designing a deck for me and giving me a counter out there, and we can smoke things. And I'm gonna experiment, with some vegan and vegetarian options, trying to get that smoky flavor that, that meat really lends to a dish, that if you don't eat meat, it's hard to get it in there. So we're gonna play around with that as well. All right, 2 more. Just quickly get that in there. Hey, buddy. How are you?
I'm so hot.
It's
hot
hot.
outside.
It did get hot today.
Right afternoon.
Yep. There was a great dish I tried today at Oak Glen that was an apple and sausage dish, and the apples were sweetened. It was a skillet dish, so that's something you could do too. I don't know if you guys saw that, but it really looked delicious. All right, so we're gonna mix this all together, and then I'm gonna point this down so you can see it. Oh, this smells so good, you guys. And that kielbasa is gonna get like caramelized on its own. It's gonna release that good fat, that yummy, smoky, decadent, juicy fat that it has in it, and it's gonna infuse that flavor into the sauerkraut. Hi Trisha, are you going to wear a turtleneck next time you're at Riley's farm? Okay, you guys, I don't want to hear any flack about they dressed me, they picked out the outfit, and that's how they dress the women. Now, I guess if you're flat-chested, it's not going to look so obvious, but if you have if you're a bigger girl, it's going to be kind of out there. And sorry, I'm not a small girl, so that is how they dressed. So that was not me picking the costume, that was them dressing me in historically period clothing. So I don't want to hear it. Okay, so this is what it looks like. It's beautiful. The flavors are all together in there. And now all I have to do is add my pork roast. See how pretty it is? It's all caramelized, beautiful. I'm going to add that on top and make sure if there's any juice that you put that in there, okay? And I'm just going to put some fresh sprigs of thyme and rosemary, and I'm just going to throw them in the pot, just kind of on top. And I'm going to cover it, and I'm going to put it in the oven. It's at 350, and I'm going to let it cook for probably 2.5 to 3 hours. I'm going to check it at 2 hours, and I'm going to use my meat thermometer. I've talked about this one before. It's a Thermapen. You can get them on Amazon. They're about $100. This is the best investment you'll ever make because you don't want to look at recipes and say it should cook X amount of time. When you're dealing with meat, you need to be accurate. You need an accurate reading of what the internal temperature is, okay? So that's important. So I'm looking for around 160 and I want it fork tender. Pork is very obvious when it's done. It just shreds. It pulls apart beautifully. Okay, where's my lid? Aiden, did you take my lid?
What lid?
Oh, here it is.
I have a basketball. Tennis.
I'm going to cover it. It's going to go in the oven, and I will come back later and show it to you when it's done. But I promise you, even if you think you like sauerkraut, this recipe is bomb. I'm just telling you right now. It can be done in the crock pot. It's an apple, an onion, and a potato grated. That's just my way to do it. If you want to do it differently, that's for you. Into 2 jars of sauerkraut, and I buy it, German brand, whatever you like. I put caraway seeds in it, but you don't have to. It's totally up to you. You could put a little bit of a German beer in there if you want to, or a little wine if you feel like it needs to loosen up a little bit. That's perfectly fine. I put my pork roast with some German mustard, whether it's a Dijon or a honey mustard or a combination of both. Rub it on there really good. The mustard acts as a little bit to tenderize the meat because it has a little acid, it has some vinegar in it. It also helps the dry rub adhere to it. So when you're searing it in your pan before you're gonna roast it, it just helps to give a nice caramelization to the meat. So I rub it with the mustard. I go ahead and use my seasonings. Usually it's thyme, rubbed sage for sure is in there. I always add sage into it. Any kind of seasoning, salt that you like, seasoning mix, just as long as there's salt and pepper in there, or just use salt and pepper. Completely up to you. There's 1/4 cup also of brown sugar in the sauerkraut, okay? And then any kind of smoked sausage, kielbasa, whatever you like. The important thing is that it has that smoky flavor. That's what you're looking for. I'm not looking for crumbled Italian sausage. No, 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 no. I want smoked sausage that is going to lend that flavor into there. And I'm going to put it in the oven and I'm going to let it slow cook, okay? And then when we pop it open, I'll come out live to show you again. It'll be later tonight because I got it in so late. But really good. I would appreciate it if you guys would go to my YouTube channel. I need to get everything over there. And pretty soon I'm going to migrate everything there anyway. So if you could go to my YouTube, it's Foodie Princess. Subscribe, please. And then the videos will all end up there. So if you want to make this next week, you can find the video. And I will also put my Riley's Farm field trip today on there. And I don't want to hear anything about the costume or anything about how it looked because they dressed me the way that the women dressed out of the time. So they were busty, they looked busty. If they were flat-chested, they looked flat-chested. You know, what can I say? Big girls, what can we say? We're big girls, okay? If you like this video, please share it. And if you have any questions, drop them in the comments and I'll try and address it. Hopefully you got the recipe. Again, it's all about internal temperature. So please don't, when you're reading a recipe, don't be like, oh, it's exactly 2 hours. Your oven may be calibrated differently than mine. It's internal temperature when you're dealing with meat, okay? All right, you guys, I'm gonna go take a load off. I'm gonna relax. relax and keep smelling this delicious dinner. And I will talk to you later. Have a great evening.